Legend tales of a place where the booze flows freely and the stories are always entertaining. If you are bold enough to seek out such a place, head 13 miles down the Tuscan Highway to a tiny blues joint known as the Townsmith Tavern. Once there, enjoy the ride. Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to a UA production of Beer, Blues, and Bowl.
Excuse me, you can't say that. You're gonna lose your family-friendly rating. You're gonna corrupt the kids.
BS! A podcast that invites you to grab a cool beverage, pull up a seat, and enjoy time with friends. And here are your hosts, Howard Blues and the Mark Kidder.
Welcome to Beer, Blues, and BS, the podcast that invites you to join us and have a nice cold beverage. Boy, do we have a jam-packed show for you this week. So much stuff to talk about. I'm Howard Blues, here with the man, the myth, the legend, the Mark Kidder. Kidder, how you doing this week?
Well, thanks as always for that rousing introduction there, Howie Blues. We are ready and set and ready to go. I'm doing well. Appreciate that. We always say that we have a great show lined up, big show, lots of content and everything. But I think that's just because that is the premise of this show, bringing everything that we could ever want to talk about, think about, or drink about. And yes, what is a drink about? If you have to ask, you can't afford it. So we're going to continue on with this show and really enjoy it. So before I ask you how you're doing, because I'm always interested to see how you're doing as well, I have to point out, because I knew this blockbuster episode that we were having today, I figured kicking it off with the What's on Tap. And today on tap is at least a triple. Old-fashioned. And as you notice, the classy glass here, I got to move off to the side so I can see what's going. That the property of Deep Space Nine, my true sci-fi nerdiness. And so, yeah, the triple drink old-fashioned here. And this evening, it is the Belfour whiskey, not the championship rye hanging out over my shoulder. This is just the straight-up rye from Belfour. Looks as golden honey, a medium amber. Aside from that, their nose, when you're a burnt sea salted vanilla caramel aroma, or caramel if you prefer, and dark chocolate. Ooh. The tasting notes of sweet caramel and brown sugar. How about that? And then the finish is a full-bodied, velvety warmth. And let me tell you, it is nice and deliciously warm. That lingers with a slight peppermint finish. Not to be confused with my Italiano talk here. How about that? A fine piece of caramel to celebrate. That sounds like a damn good drink to me. So cheers to you, my brother Howie. And let's go check out with you. How the hell are you? And what are you drinking this evening?
You know, I'm doing pretty well, Kidder. Although I did have a bit of a disappointment today, because as you know, we record these episodes, and then it takes a little bit for us to get them out, and that was to give us time to learn the tech and such. So I was working on episode 4 this afternoon, kind of on one of my work breaks, giving it a good old listen to, and it was unfortunately the night after the Sioux lost in the 5th overtime. And we got to the point where I mentioned that I had started dinner at 10 o'clock. And I, of course, remembered what I had for dinner, which was I had made myself a batch of my jalapeno popper recipe.
That's very good.
And I got to thinking about it. I'm like, you know what I want? I want poppers. I should make those tonight.
Yeah.
And I went to the store, and every single jalapeno they had on the shelf, and that's why I'm not going to name the store, was not good. There wasn't a
Oh, yeah.
single damn good jalapeno on the shelf. I had to come home empty-handed. So it's been a day. It's been a day.
Sounds like it. Although you might have wanted to spice it up and head over to spicy meatball or something. Switch the jalapeno to the meatball.
Yeah, I settled for steak. It's okay.
Steak is a very, very good choice.
Yeah. As for what's on tap, another one of the wife's picks of beers. Tonight we have the Blue Moon iced coffee blonde. And
All right.
I haven't read a lot of the bottle here, but of course the Blue Moon Brewing Company out of Golden, Colorado. And their description on this says golden colored wheat ale made with fair trade decaf coffee beans. So I'm already going to knock at a point that it's decaf.
That's some BS to me. That's
if I'm gonna
a
drink
bad BS.
If I'm going to drink a coffee beer, it should at least get me hyped. So to open this bad boy, I have a little bottle opener.
Well, look at that thing there.
Yeah.
It's oddly
Only
familiar.
slightly familiar. Yeah, just a little bit. Thought you'd appreciate that.
Good move, Howie Blues.
It's first time I've actually used it to open a beer.
Well, that's the perfect time to use it then.
Mm-hmm. I'm only really using it because all my other openers are packed away.
You lazy son of a bitch.
Anyway, let's give this the old try. Well, I definitely still like it better than the what was it? The Steep Drop, which was the first coffee beer I had on here.
Yeah.
Now, I tend to like my coffee kind of dark and bitter, like my soul.
Just like our souls. Man, how long have you guys been together? Jesus.
So it's got a nice coffee flavor, though. I do enjoy that. But it has that light brew coffee taste to it, which... but I'll say it's better than the other coffee beer I've drank on this show. So,
which is only this is the second coffee beer, correct?
This is the second coffee beer I've had on this show. I'm hoping this doesn't become a thing.
For those listening, if you'd like to send Howard Blues some coffee beer to try every week on this podcast, send me an email, kidder@beerbluesbs.com, and I'll get it there.
Oh boy. Yeah. Nope. I like this one a bit better. Not something I'd want to drink every night, but I think I'm going to enjoy this tonight.
That's all you. You enjoy that. I'm pretty sure that I would spit it out or end up throwing that beer bottle into the garbage. Well, I'd throw the contents down the drain, and then I would be a good red-blooded American and throw it in the recycle bin. But with my beverage, I'm more than happy to continue having some quality Belfour whiskey and the proper old-fashioned. Thank you very much.
So Kidder, I do have to make a small confession to you.
Now what?
So, last weekend I was over at your place, and you made me an old-fashioned.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing about it was you asked me a lot of questions. Like if I wanted to sample, was the mix right? All of those sorts of things. Being the usual good host that you are. But here comes the confession. That was my first old-fashioned.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, which is part of the reason why. Like when you're like, exactly.
You dirty bastard.
Which is why when you're like, you want to taste something? Like, I'm sure it'll be fine. It's like, I'm not going to know the difference.
More so,
yeah, no.
Just for clarification, I was asking if you wanted to try the whiskey by itself, if you wanted to get the taste of the whiskey and see that compared, because I know you've had different whiskeys before. How do I know that? Well, we could talk about an incident back in about 2013 if we wanted to go down that road. But so that was where I was thinking, wasn't it 2013? I think it was about 13. 14?
No.
Might have been 14.
No, I think
or was it 12?
I think it was 12. I think it was 2012.
It ended up blurring my senses of time and space. I think we warped both forward and backward and ended up the next day, and we went back in time still. Like, just not sure how that happened. The space-time continuum just vomited on itself.
Yeah. No, well, I mean, we might as well tell that story since it's been brought up. We can't keep, circling back to these stories. So,
I mean, we can. Somebody else in the current administration likes to circle back, but we'll talk about that on another show. That is not about the beer, blues, and BS. This is one of those classic stories where if you're watching or listening along on your favorite podcast device, such as podbean.com, perhaps Spotify, Apple, I don't know what the hell Apple has on their service. So I don't know if it's Apple Plus, Apple Music, wherever the hell you get your podcasts with Apple, whatever. YouTube, if you're watching us, Facebook, of course. I know I'm missing a few of them, but iHeartRadio, the app on there. And we've gone international. So thanks for watching us and listening to us wherever you may be across this humble planet. So the big time story, as we tell the tall tales on this is one that is not quite so tall. In fact, maybe a crawl on all fours across the ground. This one was quite the event, shall we say. So it was a holiday weekend. So your two favorite blues brothers, if you will, were hanging out, having ourselves a good time, and we decided, because it seemed like a good idea at the time anyway, that I got this bottle of whiskey, and it was the honey something or other whiskey, right? So they have I was going
to say, it was the Jack Daniels Tennessee honey whiskey.
I'm glad that you remember, because I think I blacked that section out of what it actually was. Not that I blacked out, because I didn't. It was just that piece of information, even though I kept the bottle as a trophy of our conquest for many years, I see it in the store and I'm like, there it is again.
Yeah, see, and I haven't been able to drink it since.
Correct. I have also not drank that or any of the other honey whiskeys. I'm just gonna wait a few more years, maybe a decade.
Yeah.
So
yeah, no, I was gonna say, and part of the reason for doing this was I think you and I were both also coming off of bad days at work. Like we both kind of
had one of those weeks.
Right. You and I were getting together. We had nothing better to do. This was back, I think, even when we were watching wrestling on a regular basis and some other shows. And you and I sat and we watched all of that and proceeded to drink the whole bottle.
Because why not? I mean, when you buy whatever it was, I don't know if it was a 175 or what, but I mean, why not, right? You sit there and we got all day, so let's start drinking at 11 a.m. It was those weeks, so let's do it. 3-day weekend. So yeah, we drank the whole bottle. Of course, you, who drove to my place at the time, did not drive home because we're smart and responsible. You got picked up And then the following day, I think you crawled down out of the my apartment or something like that. I don't know.
I wasn't that out of it, but yeah, I was intoxicated, very much so.
And we were, and it was a grand day. We accomplished many things, including about 20 episodes of wrestling, played some video games, had a lot of laughs and more stories that we have previously told, eventually told on this show at some point. But then you got picked up, and you went back home. So what happened then?
Yeah. So the next day, I needed to get my vehicle, which was down at Kidder's place. And I lived at that time just north of the Capitol building, for those who are familiar with Bismarck. Kidder lived down south of Expressway. And I was trying to think how I was gonna do this. My wife was at work. You know, I think Kidder was at work or was busy, whatever. So I get it in my mind. It's like, well, it's downhill the entire way. And I drove at the time a Chevy Yukon, and I had a bicycle. So the thought was, I'll just hop on my bike, let gravity pull me downhill the whole way, get there, throw the bike in the back of the Yukon, and I can drive home. Here's the thing. I was still fairly hungover from the day of drinking. I did not take any water with me, which was kind of my second big mistake. And my third big mistake was in thinking that I was smart. I took a longer route because, you know, there's a bike underpass that goes under Expressway, and I won't have to wait for the traffic light. Took me like
which is on the opposite end.
Yeah, took me 3 blocks out of my way, so I had to go 3 blocks the wrong way, basically, to just cross under Expressway and go 3 blocks back. By the time I got to Kidder's place, I was severely dehydrated. I actually stopped and bought water. Luckily, I brought my wallet with, got my bike loaded in the car, and proceeded to drive home. And I have not lived that incident down. But this is why I will often say, don't bike while hungover. Yeah, not my finest moment.
It helps, you know, when you remember where the hell you're going. But, you know, that's all right. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but it was also like 80 to 85 at that point. Or should I say, when you started this adventure, it was like 60, and then by the time you needed water at the gas station, it was like 85.
Yeah. It was a hot one out there.
And also, it was like, what, 6 hours you were on this adventure?
Yeah, it was far longer than I should have been.
Well, you know, sometimes you have to go for that extra mile.
I also think, in my recollection on this part is a little hazy, I think even like the tires on my bike were a bit flat. So once I was like to level ground and had to pedal, if you've ever pedaled a bike with flat tires, it's like quadrupling the work.
Yeah, that's not cool, man. That's not cool.
Yeah, needless to say, I've never lived that one down. And as I said, I don't drink Jack Daniel's Tennessee honey whiskey anymore since then.
We don't, but we're still in the whiskey family, so we're happy about that.
Well, you still are. I've kind of moved away from the whiskeys, but yeah.
So the only whiskey that I don't want to say cringe when somebody offers it to me is Jack Daniel's. I don't know how I don't really cringe, but I'm like, no, I am good without the Jack Daniels. And the reasonings for that is because he has a love-hate relationship with me, or should I just say kind of a blackout relationship, and not like blackout and pass out type of thing. It's more of not really remember what you're doing as you're doing it. For example, playing video games, doing shots of Jack Daniels, and then deciding, yep, it's time to go home. So ran home without my shoes. Okay. And thankfully it was inside the apartment building, so it wasn't like running across town or something like you. But also at a Metallica show in Grand Forks, ended up having too many of those up there. Made it about 3/4 of the way through the Alaris parking lot as we were headed south toward our hotel, and said, this walk is taking too long. And I took off running and ran all the way to the apartment, to the hotel, and sat there waiting for everybody else. I had the key to get in, but, you know, being the gentleman that I am, was holding the door open for them as they continued to walk. That is a Rude Boy Kyle and Nico story included there as well. So they were two of the three. My wife being the fourth, sitting there waiting for them as they walked there, and I'm like, let's go. And then the other time was after bowling, and then we had to stop at Denny's, and then from Denny's, because we got a taxi ride from the bowling alley to Denny's, and then it ended up being one of those, okay, we'll walk home because it's not that far, and it was to the apartment. And I'm like, yeah, fine, whatever. I mean, we could just get a taxi, but fine. You want to? Let's go. So away we go. We're going. And then I ran to Kirkwood Ace, which was, you know, at the end of 7th Street. And then I sat and waited for him. And then we finished there. We went to Holiday, got some water because, you know, lots of alcohol. Started walking south on University. And this walk is taking forever. I took off running and basically waited for him at the almost the entrance to the one parking lot of the apartments, and just, come on, people, let's go. I got places to go. So apparently, for some odd reason, because I hate exercising, it's the bane of my existence. So apparently, this might be a grand scheme for me to get running again, is just drink a lot of Jack Daniels. It just makes me go running for some reason.
I was gonna say, Kidder, when you got done, if you hadn't realized it, that what I'm hearing here is that Jack Daniels doesn't give you a blackout problem; it gives you an exercise problem.
Yeah. Well, I don't know.
You want to know one sad thing though? That I realized as we were talking about all this.
We have a lot of stories involving alcohol.
We do, which is probably good that we host a podcast titled Beer Blues and BS. No, it's the fact that my wife, before she discovered that she was allergic to corn, I'll just put it this way. I have a bottle of Jack Daniels Tennessee honey whiskey upstairs that she can't drink.
Oh, boy.
So maybe if this show ever gets really big, there we go. We will have to work on that bottle at some point.
I don't know if I want to make it to that level of popularity. I mean, it might be interesting for one show. But I think at that point we'll have to have the video of us splitting it, or we'll have to do one of them where we're both in the same location or something like that. And that way it could work out where we drink the whole bottle in one episode. I don't know if we can do that. That sounds horrendous.
That does sound horrendous. Maybe what we need to do is get a second bottle, split it in half, and then next year, starting at the Royal Rumble with WrestleMania season, actually drink every time they point at the sign.
I think we're going to be done with that bottle before the end of the episode. You know that, right? It might be It might be drank faster than if we were to just drink it straight or with a mixer. And we were drinking that other one with mixers all day. We were drinking with mixers. So,
yeah. So, anyway, but yeah, no, I've moved away from whiskey. I drink more gin nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
So,
except for tonight with the classic coffee, beer, whatever you want to consider the mixture there.
Yeah. No, less acid reflux with the gin. That was kind of the part with the whiskey tends to give me the.
It is only for the very hearty individuals, like
which was why I was hacking so badly the other weekend. Had a little acid reflux as I was finishing that old fashioned and was gagging on it and such.
I'm sorry, brother, but you know I knew that you were a man and that you could handle it. So
I survived.
It's true. Well, now that we know what's on tap, what about in the old headphones? What kind of music are you listening to this week?
You know, Kidder, I actually have been listening to adult music finally again, but I've been on a
that's good.
I've been on a bit of a bluegrass kick, and
really,
yeah. I have two bluegrass bands that I enjoy. Well, I have three that I enjoy listening to. One of them is Steve Martin and the Steep Canyon Rangers, which mixes a bit of comedy in with the bluegrass. But I wasn't really in a comedic music sort of mood. So the two I've been listening to, one of them is Reverend Peyton's Big Damn Band, which is a great name for a 3-person band.
Yeah, it's not too bad.
Yeah, it's great. But I really do like their music. It's a lot of, they do a lot of fun stuff. Again, they have basically a drummer, a washboard player, and a guitar player, and they have a lot of fun songs. They do a version of If You're Happy and You Know It, Clap Your Hands, but it's I'm Bad and You Know It, Clap Your Hands.
All right.
Yeah, and it's that one's one of my favorites. I used to play that one actually for Junior when he was too young to know.
That's okay.
So, but you know, even that one, like, it has a great music video where they invited like anybody who had talent to be in this music video. So they got like the local freak show in with it. So it's kind of interesting, but yeah, they basically threw a barn party. That one's really great. I'm a big fan of their song So Delicious, which is another great song about basically a pot roast. But they just have a very unique sound, and I may or may not have played them when I was an off-ice hockey official at a couple of games, because they got some like real strong sounds.
I believe it.
So I'm trying to remember what the other one. Oh, the other one that they have is Raise a Little Hell, which is not the classic Trooper song Raise a Little Hell.
Mm-hmm.
But it's about, Raise a Little Hell. And that's a great one. Especially if you like little kids singing in songs, because they got the little kids to do the chorus. So it's, all these kids, I believe the chorus goes, raise a little hell, raise a little hell. I just came to raise a little hell. But they get the kids to shout the last part. We just came to raise a little hell. So a bunch of, like 3rd through 5th graders shouting that. It's got a kind of a crazy vibe to it. So I like those guys. The other bluegrass band that I really enjoy, and I think you might even enjoy, Kidder, is called The Dead South. And they're a quartet out of Canada. And they sing bluegrass songs about inappropriate things. So
Perfect.
usually, like, bluegrass is a very kind of happy sound to it. To steal the bit from Steve Martin, he always thought that bluegrass and the banjo is the one thing that could have saved Nixon. If he would have just, when everybody started questioning about Watergate, if he's just like, everything's fine, and just started strumming on the banjo,
Steve Martin is a genius, by the way. Just wanted to point that out, that Steve Martin is not credited for as much humor as he has gifted us on this planet. Just want to throw that out there. One talented musician as well.
Oh, yeah. If you've ever listened to his bluegrass stuff, I mean, yes, it's comedic, but it's very technically good. And actually, my favorite song that he did, it's called So Familiar, there's no lyrics to it. But it is just an amazing song and phenomenal. And I love that one to death. But anyway, the Dead South tends to sing about things that get kind of like I don't know that I'll ever be able to let Junior listen to that for quite a while. It has songs about things like, well, I think the chorus on one of them goes, "Good Lord, she's your cousin, but she needs some sweet loving anyway."
Sweet.
I
mean, normally you'd want to leave that to somebody else, but whatever.
Yeah, it's got that. I love their song "Gunfighter," which is about being, the baddest MFer in the land, as the chorus goes. And
must be a song about my old radio show. I don't know.
Yeah.
Just saying.
And then the other really great one that I would recommend to you is "In Hell I'll Be in Good Company."
Well, yeah, because both of us are going to be there.
Yeah.
Right?
So that one's good. But they also have, like, and I do say, they have kind of all these songs that are kind of on that route. But they do have one of my all-time favorite songs. It's called "Honey O." And it's such a good song. And my only problem with it is it's so short. Like, it's so good. And it's a short song. And it's so good. And you listen through all of it. And you just wish there was another chorus and another verse to it. Because it's really two verses and a single chorus. And that's it. But it's just this very beautiful, very great sound. I do want to see these guys in concert sometime, and they have toured in our neck of the woods from time to time. So I do want to hear these guys live. I think they'd be a heck of a good time. I know that before the coronavirus, they took a break. They were touring and doing so much that their poor banjo player actually had like a nervous breakdown. Like, he was just so stressed with all the travel and all of that he literally had a breakdown. And luckily, I think he's recovered from that. But they're a fantastic group, a fun group. I highly recommend that you check them out. And then, Kidder, I got one last one for you. I have to ask, have you ever heard of the Who band?
I have. I have listened to many of the Who's music, both the originals and the American remakes. Nice Gregorian monk music.
Well, and they're actually Mongolian.
Ah, yes, damn you Mongolians! That's a South Park reference there.
Yeah, we actually were listening to some of that the other night. Purely because when Junior, before he made his grand appearance, if we were hanging out, listening to music in the evenings, and I played that, he'd always start kicking. So we always used to laugh, Lefty and I, that he was a big fan of Mongolian throat singing. So we wanted to see if he had a similar reaction now that he was out, and he couldn't care less, but I enjoyed it.
Well, I mean, it was worth a shot anyway.
It was.
Now, are you listening to the American remix songs with popular rock artists, or are you listening to the traditional tracks?
So the other night we were listening to the traditional tracks, but I do have some of their ones with the American artists, and I actually used them for hockey.
Mm-hmm.
You know, songs like Wolf Totem, great, like hockey warm-up song.
Yep.
You know, so
fantastic.
So this goes into, and I think we've talked about it before in a previous episode about me switching up some of the hockey music, and that was one of the ones that I added was Wolf Totem. So it's another great one.
It's very good to switch up the old songs that have been burnt out for 20 years, you know, add some new stuff into it. That's what I always like to do anyway. Bring the new flavor into the old world and light it on fire.
Yeah. What have you been listening to lately, Kidder?
Well, you know, I'm always a little bit of a musophobe, or very eclectic taste in music. I mean, there's quite a few different songs and bands that I listen to. In fact, if you hop onto Spotify when you're done listening to Beer, Blues, and BS on Spotify, you can find the Killer Kidder Show. And of course, we've talked about that before. At least we tried to talk about it, and who knows if it actually made it onto the recording, because that was, I believe, episode 3, and that was the episode 2. Oh, that's right. Thanks there, Jaco. Appreciate that. Episode 2 was the one with the like triple take because of how bad the recording and everything, like if it actually wanted to record. So very, very annoying. But the Killer Kidder Show itself, if you head on over to your Spotify app, you can listen to quite a few of the songs. So give you the thumbnail. There it is. Make sure you check it out. Add it to your favorites list. And as of this moment, because even since the last time I tried to talk about it, I've added more songs to it. We are now up to 313 hours and 50 minutes of music. That is continuous play, my friends. You can shuffle it or just start it from the very beginning and the alphabetized world. But tons and tons of awesome music on there, so you can check that out. And it includes some music from The Who, Jacoby Shaddix on Wolf Totem, in fact, the American version, so you can find that on the list, you know, all the way back to the Toadies. And how about Fuel, The Offspring, Metallica, duh, you know, Kings of Leon, The Refreshments. How about that, The Refreshments? Fantastic album, front to back. Fizzy, Fuzzy, Big and Buzzy is the name of the album from 1996. It's The Refreshments' fantastic album. You should pick that up, or at least check it out on Spotify. More Metallica, Skillet, Cavo, 10 Years, 311. You know what? There's a ton of great music. In fact, this week, a couple of the tracks of Mice and Men, relatively new single here, at least in the past week or so. Added that to the playlist. Good song there. And Palisades. Kind of got into them a little bit this week as well. So a couple bands that you need to check out on the old Killer Kidder Show. So make sure you check that out. Hit the shuffle button. And you can follow it too. Just like Beer, Blues, and BS. Click the follow button on Spotify. So then when there's updates and whatnot, you get them right there on your phone so you can listen to this. What better way to enjoy a free app, or if you pay for the premium version for no ads, which I do, you know, why not? I mean, tons of great music, tons of great talk and BS, tons of great alcohol. Absolutely. So, I guess that's kind of what I'm listening to this week. Like I said, I'm all over the place. I don't get to listen to music as much as I used to right now, but I'm making that happen so I can get back into the music aficionado category that I once was not long ago.
Kira, I was going to ask you, like, how do you tend to find new music and new artists? Like, is there certain places you go to hear these? Are there places or things that you follow? Just because I know back when you had your radio show, one of your kind of claims to fame, and one of the things that people really liked about you was you played new and up and coming artists and such, and that's kind of where you got a reputation. And so I just thought that'd be interesting to hear is how do you find these bands? Because I know how I stumble upon music, but I can talk about that after. But I was curious how you do it.
Well, I'd have to give away all of my secrets, and why would I want to give away all of my secrets? Because then, well, I wouldn't be that damn good. Or maybe it's just because I'm that damn good, right? I mean, there's a couple different things. There's a bunch of different places that I find stuff. Back in the day, I was looking at the music charts every day. And, of course, with radio format, so you think about your top 40 channel, your active rock channel, your country channel. If it's a new country channel, every different format, right? So there's news channels and then there's the older channels. Well, on the new stuff, you typically have a top 40 list. So that week you have a 40 song selection, and those are your songs for the week. They keep moving up and down depending on the number of airplays across the country. And really what you're looking for is what people are really into that week. Moves the songs way up the list. Of course, you hear them every hour and a half or so because that's the typical format for an active station, whether it's active rock, top 40, your favorite bubblegum station as they are somewhat called, or even in your country station. You play your active songs about every 3 hours. Okay, so you'll hear the same song about every 3 hours. Now on the list, when you get into that top 40 category, that's really what you want to be playing. Sometimes there's a hot mover for the week, and so you'll move one of those other songs that are going down, move that into its spot, kind of work it in, and you continue to try and be on top of the new trends because there's nothing better than being ahead in the music world. The other world, when I would look at it, okay, the top 40 are great. What's in 41 through 100? Let's look in there. New song debuts. What number is it debuting at on the charts that week? Okay, is it debuting at number 82? Okay, what band is it? I don't know if I've heard this band. Let's click a listen. Oh man, this is really good, or that is trash. I don't know how they got that number. There's that. Some of it also depends on name recognition of the band. So if you have a band, for instance, we talk about Jacoby Shaddix, Papa Roach. Okay, very recognizable band. They've been around for over 20 years. So they have a new song. There's a likelihood that song is going to be played on the active rock stations. So that song will most likely debut within the top 30. There's a possibility that it won't, but there's a very good chance that it will. So you kind of look through everything like that, go through the list, see what songs are good, what artists are known, or even if other artists team up on other songs. Because that's something that's really cool too. Bands will start working together, or one band will feature an artist from another popular band. In fact, and I'm going to have to look it up, but Lizzie Hale, the lead singer and guitarist for Hailstorm, was recently on as a guest vocalist for another band and created a song, and it was really good. So the name of the band is escaping me, so I know that's one song that I discovered here in the past couple months. So part of the other secret, watch social media. Bands will post, their new songs. Hey, we have this new single coming out next week. get the hype up a little, a little bit for that. Aside from that, when I was really into it, a lot of the artists would be sending me music as well. Hey, this is our new song coming out. Check this out. It's going to be dropping next week. Or with another band, Another Lost Year. I've talked about them before. Those guys really kicking ass, and I love their music. I actually named one of their songs back in the day because I debuted it on the radio, internationally terrestrial radio debut. And they realized as I was introing their song that they hadn't sent me the name of the song. So I was actually the one who named that song. So they gave me a credit on the EP, and so my name will forever live on in the back of the that album. So there's a lot of different ways that I would come across new music. I still try and keep my ear to the ground, my eyes on Facebook and different media sites where the new music is coming through. So when I was really into it, like I said, I was all over the place looking for all this new music, because what's good and what I think other people are going to like, that was really what I enjoyed about making the playlists. And that's why I still put that effort into the Killer Kidder Show on Spotify. So hope you like it, and hope that kind of explains the method to the madness, because there's a lot of madness, let me tell you.
Yeah, see, and I'm much more of a stumble upon it kind of guy, and I will find it on places like YouTube. I might hear a song somewhere and then seek out, the band or the artist a little bit, and that's how I tend to discover. And sometimes it's just one of those weird things when you're not really signed into YouTube and you just kind of go down, although you get a lot of the pop stuff, but every now and then you'll stumble in. But like things like the Dead South, Reverend Peyton's Big Damn Band, those I stumbled upon and found. But other times you just get a weird random suggestion on YouTube, and that'll take me down interesting paths. That's how I found bands that are probably, they don't get a lot of credit, like the Church of the Cosmic Skull, which I don't know if you've heard of them.
It doesn't ring a bell at this point, but you never know.
They're kind of interesting. Their whole presentation is that they're a cult.
Okay.
Their songs, and again, sometimes I will hear one like song by a band, and I will check them out, and well, the Church of the Cosmic Skull is a great example. I like their song Cold Sweat. It's got a very good kind of 70s, like a 70s pop song mixed with some blues. It's very good. Could not tell you a bit about what that song's about. I have no idea what the meaning is behind it, but it's catchy. So you find things like that. Sometimes you strike out. I was trying a new band. They're called Kent, and I can't remember if they are. Yeah, but they are from one of the Scandinavian countries, not Denmark. I don't think Norway. It's either Sweden or Finland. For their last album, and I don't mean like their most current. I mean their last album before they broke up. They did this wonderful song, and I'm not going to try to pronounce it because it's in their language. I'll put a link in the show notes to it. But it was this wonderful, like it starts with a snare drum and it builds. So it starts with the snare drum, and then they'll add in a bit of horns, and it just constantly builds. Like it's the same like beat and rhythm, but it just builds and builds. And then they add in the chorus, and it just grows, and it gets to just a huge crescendo, and then it drops back down to the snare drum. And this song, the whole purpose of it was to announce their last album. So it was really just for an ad. The music videos for it is great. They work in all of these allusions to their past album covers. I liked it. I actually used it. One of the things I did for hockey as an off-ice official, I felt like both the Bismarck Demons and the Century Patriots, they needed a theme to come out to. So kind of, because the way that works formatting wise is usually you play music during the period break, and then the cheerleaders come out and do a cheer after the Zamboni has gone through, and then you have just a little bit of, like, usually maybe a minute or two, not enough to play a full song. And so what I tried to do is I tried to find pieces of music that would work. So this one song by Kent is the Century Patriot theme for me. So I play it between, right before the second period starts, and right before the third period starts, as they skate on, because it builds that beautiful crescendo. The Bismarck Demons, I think it's called For Honor, but it's off the Kill Bill soundtrack. Again, similar thing. It's an instrumental. It builds. It just gives you that kind of, all right, we're ready for some action. But I liked this piece of music by Kent so much that last night I was actually like, let me check out some other songs by them. Nope. Not my cup of tea.
Nope.
So
yeah, that's all right.
But that's how you stumble upon some of these things, and you sometimes will find really great stuff. And sometimes it's listening to things. Every now and then, like the WWE will feature for like their theme for a pay-per-view some artist. And if you go and check out more of their stuff, that's how I came across the Struts, a band that I still enjoy very much. If you kind of like the hair band fun sound of rock music, the Struts you got to check them out. They're fantastic. I can't say enough. Plus, they have my favorite concert moment that I've ever seen. And this will lead us to a concert story, Kidder, that I think you and I should share. But at one of their concerts, somebody was throwing beer, just in the crowd, which I've never understood, going to a rock show and throwing your beer. Like, this wasn't like, oh, empty cup. This was like full beer. And
there goes $8. Whee!
And their lead singer, like after the song, like during the song break, is like, hey, you tossing the beer. F off. People are here for a good time. If you're going to sit and ruin that good time, get the F out of here. and it was nice. It was enjoyable because one of the first rock concerts I went to with you, we were on the ground. I'm trying to remember the bands that were involved with it. But you and I ended up drenched in beer and got hit by a couple of containers, which we couldn't, again, $8 beer. I don't care that it was Coors Light. If I paid $8 for a beer, I'm drinking it.
Was this in Fargo?
I think it was in Fargo.
Because I believe that would have been 3 Days Grace, Breaking Benjamin, and Seether. And Skillet.
I think Skillet. I was going to say in Skillet.
Skillet opened up for him, and we were like, holy crap! They played a freaking awesome show. And then the rest of them were like, it's all right. Yeah, good. Yeah, this is good. It's good.
Yeah. Which one? And okay, I think it's Breaking Benjamin, has the song that we have improved by adding 2 words.
That is 3 Days Grace. The song title is Riot. And of course, it goes, let's start a riot. A riot. Let's start a riot. So, in the vehicle ride back, because that was a radio station trip from the KJ 108, the Valley's Rock Original days, on the truck ride back, listening and talking about the concert that we had just observed, hearing it on the radio again as we're driving back, going, wait a minute. Jaco thinks that there's some better lyrics that could be added into here. So, tossed them out.
Yeah. So basically, it gets to the point of they're saying, let's start a riot, but they don't say when. So my take on it was at the end of that chorus, you know, when they do that final riot, they really need to just add right now.
Problem
There you go.
solved. When are we starting it? Let's start now. Okay, let's go.
Yeah, I mean,
I get it.
I mean, yeah, but you know, they're the touring national band. I'm a guy who hosts a podcast from his basement.
10 years after the
Maybe
fact.
they don't need my my favorite though story from that was you and I were on the ground and we found like the perfect spot to watch this concert from.
And I could tell everybody where the perfect place is to watch any show from, but I don't want to ruin that secret because then instead everybody will be going up to, instead of the front, they'll be going to the said spot. So I don't want to share that.
Well, I think you have since improved on this spot, but for this concert where we ended up, we found a group of football players. These guys were huge. They all had short, tiny girlfriends. And because we're down on the floor and they didn't want people moshing into their girlfriends, they formed a protective semicircle around them. And we happened to just kind of fit right at the top of that circle. And we could see right over the short girlfriends to see the stage and the show and such. But the best part about this is at some point, and I don't even remember which band, that's not important. But at some point, all of a sudden, and we just have to say this, Kidder's taller than I am, but all of a sudden, this body gets thrown over the two of us, kicking Kidder in the head, and landing on these girls in front of us. And of course, Kidder and I both turn to see what's going on with this. And here you see these like group of middle schoolers who are like, oh, and their buddy, who they were trying to body surf until he fell into this, you know, protective pod of girls, had landed there. And as he gets up, the girl he landed on starts just pounding on the guy. And I just remember his buddies in the back just like, oh.
Yeah, they just decided to mosey off in the other direction. But yeah, they screwed up. They screwed up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but that's why you shouldn't. You got to be careful when you do that body surfing because you never know when you're going to hit a pod of, you know, girlfriends. And he should just be lucky that the guys didn't do anything. But man, that girl handled herself just fine.
Now here's the other thing with that too, is because I've been to I don't know how many hundreds of concerts. The big thing that you want to do, and no matter how many people make fun of you for it, you're going to thank me in the end. Bring earplugs, because you can still hear and feel the music just fine with some decent quality earplugs. And I'm not talking about getting the stupid foam things and shoving in your ear. If you want, great, go for it. But get some decent earplugs. And put those bad boys in your ear, because 20-year-old you or 20 years older you will thank you for actually putting those into your ear holes and saving your freaking hearing. So that's just one little quick tip for you there. Also, while we've been BSing through this, I remembered, thanks to the power of the Spotify, this is the album single cover for it, and it's Apocalyptica, the name of the band, which I know you are familiar with. Fantastic band. They usually have other artists, as in singers, come in and sing the songs to accompany their music. So this song called Talk to Me, really good, features Lizzie Hale and Apocalyptica. And speaking of bands from the past, Finding Clyde. Pull up music from Finding Clyde. They were based out of Michigan and haven't been around for quite a while, but you know what? Some damn good music out of those boys, and wish that they were still around. Same with Red Line Chemistry. They haven't made music in quite a few years now. I shouldn't say quite a few. It sounds like it's been decades, but it's been a few years since they made some new music and whatnot. So still hoping that they go back and to the studio, make some new music. But just a couple more bands to add to the list there, Jaco.
Yeah. Oh, it's great. So Kidder, I this week I got my second COVID shot.
Mm-hmm.
And I promise this will eventually tangentially get to a topic on the list.
Okay. You've made the list. Okay. Continue.
So here's the thing. Okay. I'm not great about medical stuff. I'm terrible with needles. When I was in the 4th grade, I had my appendix rupture. We didn't catch it for like 12 to 24 hours. So I had to have emergency surgery to remove it. And then it got infected. So the day I was supposed to leave the hospital, I had to go back into surgery. And the poor nurse who had to put in the IV for the second surgery, I took like 14 attempts to get it in the one arm, and I think it was like 10 in the other. So me and needles, man, we just don't get along. We didn't realize it until I think it was a couple years later when we did a family flu shot. They like brought the whole family into the room and was going around doing the flu shots, and I nearly passed out. That's like, oh, Chris can't handle needles. So I'm in getting the second vaccine. And the first time I went was entertaining because the pharmacy I was at, there were people younger than me. There were people older than me. But the way that they went up to the counter and, like you thought it was a drug deal because they would just go, hey, supposed to get the COVID vaccine? Do you have that here? It's like they have an appointment. It's okay. But it's like every single one of them was like, Do you have the COVID vaccine? I don't want anybody else to know, man. I don't want to create a rush. This time there wasn't that, but I had a really chatty nurse, and so usually with any injection, it's they stab you, they inject the substance, they remove the needle. Well, she got so busy talking that she stabbed me, she injected me, and then proceeded to chat with me. And I can't tell you what she was saying because I was just sitting there the whole time like, take it out, 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 take it out.
What you should have followed up with, it doesn't matter what you have to say.
Right. Anyway, I think she was giving me like all of the advice of like, you might get a headaches because this will dehydrate you. So drink lots of water and electrolytes and all that. It's like, I don't care, just get it out. Anyway, I did end up with a headache from it. And so I got the shot on Tuesday. So Wednesday, I ended up not going into work. Put in my sick leave request because pounding headache. I was teleworking. I had the little kid. It's like, this just isn't going to be a good day. I'm just going to take the day. And I got up, of course, because of course you couldn't sleep in. So I was up at 6:30, came down here to the basement. I'm like, I'll watch something. And I'll watch something with the lefty's not going to care about. And I ended up watching The People versus O.J. Simpson, an American crime story. This was
is this a documentary or is it something that the show that the FX made? I think it was
the
FX.
show that FX made it. It was the first season of kind of a new anthology show. So FX does American Horror Story. And it's an anthology show. So each season they present a new story, right? And they were going to do the same thing with American Crime Stories. The guys who produced this were the same people who produce American Horror Story, although they left the show after the first season. But this is it's got a incredible cast. Like the names associated with this. I mean, you have Cuba Gooding Jr. as O.J. Simpson. John Travolta plays one of his lawyers, Robert Shapiro. David Schwimmer is amazing in it as Bobby Kardashian. So phenomenal cast. Nathan Lane is in there as well. And it's really, it's them kind of, again, this is it's like any movie that's like a historical event. It's got all the a good chunk of the facts right, but they kind of fudge a few things here and there for the entertainment value. But it was really good. I ended up actually watching the whole show in a single sitting, which I don't tend to binge TV, but I watched the whole thing, and it was phenomenal. Just the performances were great. Cuba Gooding Jr. as O.J. Simpson, like, they did an excellent job of just setting it up so that even though, that he gets acquitted, they do a great job of really playing it to where you're like at times rooting for him, but at times, you could see like, yeah, he definitely did it. And other times you're like, he's kind of a fumble, a bit of a buffoon, or he's not quite all there. Like sometimes he's just childlike, and it's very well acted. Even though you know how it ends, you really can see, and you're pulling for both sides, and you can almost kind of forget like how it ends. But it's very good, and like I remember the O.J. Simpson trial and the chase. We were about 10 years old when that happened. And I grew up with two channels, so the O.J. Simpson trial was on like both channels for like a year. Like you could not escape the coverage. And it was
same thing. Yep.
Yeah, it was so big. I remember me and my friends as 10-year-olds discussing the O.J. Simpson trial to the point, and of course, as a 10-year-old, you're not following all of the details and stories. So it's one of those where like, who could have killed Cole Brown and Ron Goldman? And the only characters that you have as a 10-year-old are the other people involved with the trial and such. So I remember me and a friend had the totally now outlandish but child theory that the real murderer was none other than Robert Shapiro, OJ's lawyer, and that he was the one framing him, which is a totally ridiculous take. But for a 10-year-old kid, I will say, and I feel a little bit better about that, having seen this and seeing just kind of how sleazy Robert Shapiro was. It's like, I don't think I was far off. I'm not going to say he actually, did it or framed it, but it's like 10-year-old Howard clearly had picked up on, you're kind of sketchy.
So, sounds about right.
So I highly recommend it. If you haven't seen it, it's on Netflix. It's very good.
One big question though.
Yes.
Is the chase scene in there?
They give a whole episode to the chase.
A whole episode? So you're telling me that I can watch 1992 police chase of the white Bronco? I can watch that?
Yeah. You can watch it. And they do a nice job of cutting in like historic footage into it. So
yeah. So it sounds like I'm going to have to go back on upstairs to the old television after we get done with this. And I'm just going to, I'll be honest, I'm just going to skip all the rest of the crap and I'm just going to that episode. And I will evaluate their ability to create a police chase.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you have to remember this was kind of like a slow speed pursuit. So,
I remember. I remember because watching that as well. But we'll have to see how well they do in recreating it.
Yeah, it's I'm trying to remember. It's either episode 2 or 3. I think it's 2. But
okay, I will look for it.
Yeah, I was gonna say I highly recommend it if you like crime, true crime stories. If you like courtroom drama, check it out. So it was a good watch.
Yeah, that sounds good. Other than that, I'm guessing that you're watching some other stuff.
Not really. Not really. We are closing in on trying to get our house up on the market. So free time is kind of spent with the household projects. So if I hadn't have been under the weather, I probably wouldn't have watched anything this week. So
Fair enough. So I guess it's a little bit of a blessing in disguise for you then.
yeah.
So what's the deal with this controversy?
Oh, yeah. So I was going to do this last week, and we kind of ran out of time. But
Something
I got
about
a
us
new,
liking to talk.
yeah, tell stories and all that. I got a new board game. It's called Marvel United, and it's a card game. You play as it's cooperative, 1 to 4 players, and you play a superhero, one of the Marvel heroes, and you work together to defeat a villain. And you do this by playing cards to what's called the storyline. And the neat thing is you get not only the ability on your card, but also the abilities of the hero that went before you. So you kind of can stack things up to combo. Very quick game. You play it in about 30 to 40 minutes, depending on player count. Played it with my family, enjoyed it. It was phenomenal, but it was interesting. It was the first time I got on the table, and this game, it was a Kickstarter game. It's by Cool Mini or Not and Spidmaster Games, and it had a bit of Kickstarter controversy to it, and that was that it came with a neoprene playmat, which is great, fantastic, but there was a ton of controversy when they announced this playmat because you had all of these people who got upset about the size of this playmat.
And why are they
My
upset
gosh.
about the playmat?
Because, man, it won't fit on their table. Damn it, they demand a playmat that fits on their table. Not everybody has a table that big.
So get a bigger table.
Nah, that's how I view it. But that's the thing about Kickstarters, and it's one of the things, like, it's always amazing to me the controversy that arises with Kickstarters and gamers on Kickstarter. I don't know have you ever backed a Kickstarter?
I have several going back over a decade ago. It's a camera clip, and part of it goes under the bottom of your DSLR or video camera. Of course, a personal camera, because I guess you could do a professional camera as well, now that I'm thinking about it. So you put the one piece under there, and then the other piece goes on your belt. So what do? It's like a holster for your camera, and it protects it because it points it away from you, so it doesn't rattle and bang against things like if you put just the sling over your shoulder. So it's not going to mess up your camera. Also, the Deep Space Nine documentary a couple years ago, and most recently, as of last month, the Star Trek Voyager documentary made by the same people, which has broken the record for the highest funded campaign on Kickstarter and Indiegogo. So they work on both of them. But anyway, you were saying.
Yeah. So the ones that I back, they're all usually game related. I've done a few others, but mostly they're some game. And it's always amazing the amount of people who get upset about, like, I don't like the looks of this miniature. I think there needs to be more of this in the game. I think there needs to be more of that in the game. And I just love, and I think we talked about this in the past episodes, I love controversy. And I love just watching these people get like, about stuff like that. I mean, it's one of my all-time favorites. I call it was Boobgate. I backed a game called Mythic Battles Pantheon. This is a game about Greek gods, goddesses fighting, and you draft an army with you select a god, and then you get to draft all of the monsters, heroes, and troops that fight in your army. One of the models that they produced was Cinda, and she's I probably said that wrong, but she's the mother of monsters. And the company that produced this game, they're out of France. They're European. Little different standards on nudity and things like that. And they produced this model. And if you're not familiar with her as a creature, she's basically got a giant snake tail, leads into the top. Her top half is that of a woman. Then she's got ram antlers. But they made this model. But of course, being that she's a woman and she's a monster, monsters don't wear clothes. So of course, she's got boobs hanging out.
We will make some big old boobies on the miniature. It is going to be great. Oh.
I apologize to our French listeners who have not started listening to this show. But
No, you don't.
yeah.
Don't lie.
So, but you had the Kickstarter comments were torn between like two sides. There were the sides that says monsters don't wear clothes, and the sides that say, but I want this to be a family-friendly game. I can't play with my kids if this model exists. And just
So don't use that model.
Or
Am I just losing my mind, or paint it differently? Sand the nipples off the end of it and then paint it. It's fine. You paint your own clothes. And correct me if I'm wrong. Those miniatures, are they not the paint your own miniatures? Like you get them and you're like, oh sweet, I got a project. You paint them, right?
Right. And so
what the hell is going on here? Come on. I'm not gonna rant. I promise. Yeah. I'm gonna calm down because board games aren't my thing. They're your thing. So I'm gonna let you rant about it. But I'm starting to get a little heated over here over the stupidity of all these people on the internet. Put them into an actual thing where they have to use their brains, or at least what's left of them, and then get them out and help, I don't know, be contributors to society.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
Right. And I mean, and you hit like all of the main points that people brought up in this. I was trying to look it up here quick while you were doing that.
Which is hilarious because I've never heard of this game. I don't think you've ever told me about this board game. And I still know the stupidity of people and how they could throw a wrench into something that could be actually decent. So thank you, morons of the internet.
Well, and just to say, and I was trying to see if they had the total. Anyway, like just the base set that you could pledge for. I mean, we're talking like just that alone. None of the add-ons, none of the expansions that you could also get in it. Just the base set had like 86 models in it. I mean, they came close. I think
like one model, you could just put it off to the side, leave it in the box. Oh, the kids are playing today. Let's just put that one away.
They don't see the little plastic boobies because we don't want to offend the children.
Right. I mean, there's so many options with things like that. I mean, I was a teacher at one time, and I would use board games in my classroom. I have one. It's called the Bill of Rights, and it's basically you're playing different lobbyist groups trying to recreate the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. One of these lobbyists that you can play, because everyone kind of has a specific role. One of them is a porn director. So when I went to use this in class, guess what card disappeared from the set? It's like
weird. It must have been the one with the critical thinking theory.
Mm-hmm. So I mean that's the thing about it. It's when you have these Kickstarters and there's hundreds of models, you don't need them all, or you actually hit on a lot of the other hobby things you can do. You can convert the model. You can paint clothing on it. You can do so many things. It's just not even an issue. But this is the thing, and this what I always find interesting about Kickstarters is these little controversies that come up and these little battles that get fought over it. The most current one, it's not actually even a Kickstarter one. I have a game. It's actually in a box over here. I managed to get a copy. Games Workshop produced a new game out. It's called Cursed City. It's part of their Warhammer Quest line. And I got really into it. It's about hunting vampires. Okay, cool. Has some gorgeous models. Okay, cool.
That's just
longest
because they have
time-
some big old boobies, isn't it?
No, actually, no nudity on this one.
Wow. How did you get into it without the nudity? I am losing faith in board games, Jake.
You never had faith in board games, although I want to try and
Correct.
change that. Anyway, I love the models. The only controversy that was existing about it was the zombie models. People didn't like because they're all stooped over and have tombstones on them. Even though the lore of the game is like, hey, in a city where the dead rise, we are staking people to their tombstone to try and prevent them from rising. Okay, it's got some cool lore. I can get it. The thing that's gotten good about this is when the game went up for pre-order, and I was actually on the road at that time, so I didn't get a chance to pre-order it. I luckily found a game store that had it, and I ordered a copy, and I managed to get it. Luckily. The big hullabaloo right now is that this was a game that when they were hyping it up, Games Workshop was like, yeah, this is going to be a long-lasting game. It's going to be fully supported. It's going to run for years. Until they found out what the trade agreement was between Great Britain and the EU, and they realized that they can't really make this game and make it profitable. So they did their one print run of it, and it's done. And so you have all these people who are now furious because they were upset, didn't get a copy of it, or they waited because they thought, well, I'll buy it when the hype goes down. And now they'll never get it.
Well.
So that's the newest one that I'm following. It's pretty interesting. So,
But that's also why we, I guess, gained our independence from, Great Britain and the European Union and stuff, because taxation is theft. Thank you.
all right. Well, Kidder, we've been going for quite a while.
It's about usual now. I mean, we're like, yeah, maybe half an hour, 45 minutes at max that's all we're going to talk. Like that'll be it. No, the last one was like an hour and 40 something.
I haven't got that far.
Well, now you have, because clearly this episode is airing and the other one has already been released. So
yeah. This has now become a future Howard problem where he's going to have to come in and put in some little note in this about, in all actuality, the last episode was an hour and 25 minutes or whatever it ended up being. We'll find out. That's a future Howard problem.
Right. Or a past. We're in the past.
Yeah, time travel. Ooh.
Of course, like the old Doctor Who over there. Yeah. Got a Dalek right over here. To victory. Yeah. Good stuff. Speaking of time travel, so I know we'll just extend this because we're talking about time travel. There was a Doctor Who special. Have not yet had a chance to watch it, but it was an animated adventure. Hour and a half or something like that special came out a couple weeks ago already. So something that you'll have to put on your list to check out. And it's on mine. Just have not had a chance to watch it yet. So we'll see how it is. Other than that, trailers for the next seasons of Star Trek Picard were released. Star Trek Discovery Season 4 were released. Picard Season 2, by the way. And then Star Trek Lower Decks Season 2, which is the animated adventure. All three of those trailers were released on First Contact Day at the beginning of April. And you can check them out at StarTrek.com and through the Paramount Plus app and whatnot. But would you like a spoiler from the trailer?
Sure.
So, Star Trek Picard. Of course, Jean-Luc Picard, captain of the USS Enterprise from back in the day of Star Trek The Next Generation and the 3 feature films featuring the Next Generation crew. As Picard has moved forward in the time that it has been since Nemesis, Star Trek Nemesis, the third of the 3 movies, feature-length films, ended. Here is Picard. He has left Starfleet and has an adventure. Season 1, okay? We'll just call it an adventure. I mean, could have been a lot longer, could have been better storytelling. That's for a different episode. So, Season 2 trailer just released. Again, First Contact Day, which is a reference to the first of the 3 feature films, Star Trek First Contact, which is the day that the Vulcans landed on Earth and introduced themselves to Zephyr Cochrane and the human race, and then introduced more alliances, and then, on and on through Enterprise. Again, anyway. One of the interesting things in this 1-minute teaser trailer, it shows the vineyard. That's the word I'm looking for. One of these things, the Chateau Picard, which is a real thing, and I have had the wine from the actual Chateau Picard in France, by the way. It comes through the vineyard and into the house where Picard is living, and goes through showing some of the objects that Jean-Luc Picard has collected over the years, much like the Kidder Cave over here, and comes to a chessboard and is zooming in on the chessboard, and you see playing cards across the poker or chessboard. And as you get closer, the cards start kind of disappearing, and one main card is flipped on its face. And as you get closer, zooming into it, you see that it is the Queen of Hearts. And as you get closer to it, the card starts dissolving, leaving simply the letter Q. And then you hear the infamous voice of John Delancey entering as a voiceover, "The trial never ended, mon capitaine." So, Q returns for season 2. There's a spoiler for you. I don't know if you were much of a fan of Q or not. Brother Nico hates Q. He's like, guess I'm not watching season 2 of Picard. So, there's that.
See, and I like Q. So,
is that just because Q's a dick?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I thought. Fair enough.
Yeah, pretty much. Most of the Star Trek enemies, it's we're gonna destroy you. It's phasers, it's things like that. Q is more like, I'm here and I'm going to annoy the hell out of you for an entire episode.
Yeah. Except for when he showed up on Deep Space Nine. So Q showed up in Star Trek: The Next Generation and annoyed the piss out of the Enterprise crew. And surprisingly, I believe it's only 6 times he shows up in The Next Generation. But memorable, right? Because he just pisses everybody off. And like, frick, it's Q again. Here he is. What is it you want, Q? Get the hell off my bridge. Things like that. And then Deep Space Nine, obviously. And as you can see, I'm out. So now you can see the full glass there, property DS9. He shows up once. One episode of Deep Space Nine. And guess what? Captain Sisko, who was just a commander at the time, knocks his ass out. He punches Q in the face. And Q gets up and, Jean-Luc never hit me. You hit me. Jean-Luc never hit me. And he disappears. But then he comes back and he goes out to the Delta Quadrant and annoys Captain Janeway and the USS Voyager for a series of episodes here and there as well. Because why not? I mean, they're out in the Delta Quadrant. They don't have anything better to do. Yeah. But so there's that. So something to look forward to or to skip here in the beginning of 2022. Maybe, hopefully, I will have some updates from the con this August in the Las Vegas at the Rio All Suites and Convention Center. Once again, the 55th anniversary of the series, I believe is what it is, something like that, coming up this year. So we'll be going, having a good time. It's also the 25th anniversary of Star Trek Voyager last year. So I'm sure they'll be working in some stuff to celebrate the Voyager show. Crazy to think that was already 25 years ago that it started. But now that we've been continuing the show, did we want to talk about meat? Because that was something I brought up. We should talk about meat. Yeah, let's talk about meat. Yeah, meat. And then literally the next day, there was something we were going to talk about. What was it? I don't remember. I don't know. That's on the notes. Yeah.
I think we can hold off on that.
Oh, suspense! Sweet, a cliffhanger to episode 8. Hell yeah! Right. Or
episode 8.
If you're living in the future and you're watching this show, just go to the episode 8 right now. Why not?
Mm-hmm. Episode 8, the one where they talk about meat.
It doesn't really rhyme. We should have done it in what rhymes with meat. That's neat.
Maybe we could have a guest on, and we could call it a meet and greet.
Yes, that would be good. I wish your blinking was louder so then your camera would come up during that.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's going to be at least that there should be a little bit of a delay before it switches over to you. So we should catch that.
Very good. Very good. I'm hoping that, this whole technology thing of trying to virtually do this podcast and do it as cheaply as possible because we don't have any sponsors yet. Or maybe we do and we just don't have them at this episode when it airs and we're working on that. But you'll have to then go back in time and try and figure that out as well. I haven't had enough alcohol to try and discern the timeline. The overlapping timeline here, the space-time continuum. So I might have to go fill my glass again if we're going to start and decipher that a little bit. But so how about meet and greet? Yeah, that sounds like a good time for me. So who are we going to meet? I guess we'll have to figure that out.
Yep. So, and well, that gives us something to work on for next week. But Kidder, I think it's time for all of the shameless plugs.
Okay, I suppose it is about time to wrap this thing up. Put a nice tidy bow on it. I think I said that last week. Have to go back in the archives, and you can check that too. Make sure you follow us on Facebook. That is Beer, Blues, and BS, the podcast, because it's a webcast or a stream or an audio podcast. So it's really all of the above and none of the above at the same time. So make sure you join us on the old Facebook. We are also on YouTube, so you can watch this spectacular nightmare in full high definition glory. I shouldn't say high definition because this is only 720p. So not quite the full high definition standards of what broadcasters should be on at this point. Aside from that, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple, Amazon Podcasts. Join us on Podbean. That is beerbluesbs.podbean.com. Just search Beer, Blues, and BS on your favorite audio app, and you'll find us, damn it. Or if you're already watching this, well, click the subscribe button. Like us. We'd love to hear from you. Join the show. We also have our emails, of course. Kidder at beerbluesbs.com. That guy over there is Howard at beerbluesbs.com. The Howie Blues. You can email him, or you know what? If you want to get in touch with the Rude Boy Kyle, well, that's rudeboy at beerbluesbs.com. Or what about Brother Nico? That's Bob Giggles at beerbluesbs.com. Yes, Bob Giggles. We'll have to talk about that at some point. How did Bob Giggles get his name? Brother Nico will have to join the show to discuss that. Let's see. Where else are we? I mean, we're all over the place, just like this show, so we wouldn't want it any other way. Oh, one thing as well. How about this? The KRD and Eyewitness News 8 Weather Channel. That's on Twitch, twitch.tv/KRDN Eyewitness Weather Now. Watch the weather stream, get the very latest on the forecast. And since the last time we did this, we had snow on the northern part of the state. There were areas that got almost a foot of snow. And you know what? I predicted it, mofo. And everybody else, I trust the only sources that you trust because you show these outrageous numbers. And there's not going to be 12 inches of snow or 18 inches of snow. This is not going to happen up there. Well, guess what? I predicted it. I put it on the internet so you can go research it. And how about that? So you can take a flying leap and take your forecast and shine it up real nice. Just go ahead, shine it real nice. Go ahead, turn that sumbit sideways and stick it straight up your candy ass. Because that's exactly what you can do. The best damn forecast, period. Right here. Okay. Did I go on a tangent? I think I went on a tangent.
A little bit. Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. Well, before I go on yet another tangent off a tangent, because sometimes that's what we like to do here on the old show, we'll put a bow on it. So, for my brother over there on the other side of this webcast, that is Howard Blues, the one and only Jaco. Find him online, Howard at beerbluesbs.com. And me, the man, the myth, the legend, the Mark Kidder at beerbluesbs.com. We will see you once again back here on the best damn podcast or webcast or stream. How about we just make this a news show? Because we bring you the best damn information around, and we are breaking it one episode at a time. This is Beer Blues and BS. Grab another cold one for us. Free beer next week.
You have been listening to a UA production of Beer, Blues, and BS. If you enjoyed the show, help others find out about it by rating the show or leaving a review at your podcast listening service of choice. Thanks for listening, and may your glass never be empty. UA Productions presents A Glimpse Behind the Curtain.
So the sad thing is I can't hear you.
You
I
can't
don't have
hear
any
me.
audio from you.
You have no audio from me. It shows that it on the thing, it shows that it's Yep.
Ah, I see why. It's on my end.
Well, good freaking job.
Spent all that time setting up that joke. And I didn't get to hear your reaction.
Yeah, well,
And now I also realized I haven't plugged in this one light over here. So
that's what you
I'm
get.
gonna skip.
Mhm.
I know. I sat here like patiently, like I will get him with this. This will be great. I even started the recording, so we have this
I see that. Yeah.
recorded for prosperity because I was like, oh, this will be interesting. The whole, yeah. And then I couldn't hear your reaction because I forgot to check. Well, at least I know what's going in at the end of the show. Let me go fix this light quick.